Welcome to the Four Seasons Podcast, brought to you by B&H Wealth Strategies, serving Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia since 1966. Here, we guide you through the ever-changing seasons of your financial journey, offering insights to help you grow, protect, and enjoy your wealth. Ready to turn your financial dreams into reality? Dare to dream. And now, here's your host, President of B&H Wealth Strategies, Jeff Bingham.
Investors are watching energy prices, supply chain pressures, and geopolitical uncertainty more closely than ever. And understanding these shifts can help families stay grounded during turbulent times. Welcome back, everybody. Skip Monty, co-host / producer, back in the studio with President of B&H Wealth Strategies, Mr. Jeff Bingham, and COO and Associate Advisor, Jake Bingham. Jeff, Jake, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Skip. Look forward to talking on this topic.
Same here. Hope you guys are having a good week.
Very good week. Been very busy, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Been a busy week, and as and they could probably attest to. You can see it's been busy because before we got on the start of this recording right here, I was probably in one of my moods. So I'm now ready to record.
All right. Well, let's get in it. So, Jeff, today we're diving into a topic that's been on a lot of people's minds for a while now. How has the ongoing conflict in the Middle East impacted financial investment and stability? Won't you walk us through that?
Well, I think, to start from the end and kind of work back and forth through that is that, the markets through all of this, with the exception of the first, we'll say 30 days of the conflict, the war, whichever title you want to put on that, where we saw kind of a corrective phase take place in the market. The markets are at all-time highs right now, in the United States. Global markets have also held up fairly well throughout this as well. So, it's always an interesting thing to see instability, as you were describing a moment ago. The markets have been amazingly resilient, and there's a number of reasons for that we can cover as we go through this. But what has not been stable, it's been rising for the most part, has been oil prices, by the barrel, thus pushing it into, where Americans and around the globe feel it at the pump on their their energy bills, and thus it trickles into the grocery stores and every other place where, because oil is what, is the blood, if you will, or the that moves product and services around the globe. And so we've not been able to stay away from that. But, we've seen oil prices spike as high as $120 through this. And now, as and we'll talk about this in a moment, we closed yesterday, we were at about a little over $75, 76 and change right now. Crude oil is, down from just 2 weeks ago, probably at roughly 100. So, I mean, that's an amazing drop, right? We're looking at, 25% drop or so since that point in time. So, and we can talk about the peace accord and that kind of thing, but that's kind of where we look at it. Markets have held up well. Prices have gone up. Inflation continues to be a problem. Thus, the affordability crisis remains front and center. It's certainly middle class and lower middle class, working class Americans that are out there. We can kind of continue to create a bit of a disparity, I think, as markets go up and prices go up at the same time. Those that don't own stocks are not enjoying that kind of thing. So as the old saying goes, it is if the rich keep getting richer and the poor, if you will, keep getting poorer. So we've got to find a way to kind of connect Wall Street and Main Street, or Center Street here in Kingsport, as we like to say, together. And that's where that's not what we've done just yet.
Now, you mentioned that the economy, things have stayed pretty stable. Are there specific sectors that tend to remain more stable during geopolitical uncertainty?
Well, you would think. You want to take that? Okay. As a That's an interesting look under the hood. I mean, I would say really looking at it, at least in this snapshot that we're looking at in this 100 days, probably closer, and we're probably pushing 110 days or whatever, maybe a little longer, since the war began, that all sectors have kinda held up. Now, you've seen more volatile sectors. I mean, you've seen, the technology sector, which is again, the Nasdaq is up 3% this week. We're recording this on June 19th, by the way. I think is up over 3% for the week. Markets are closed today as we record this, so they're gonna end the week up 3%. But we've seen volatility there, in chip makers, and then as the war and instability, as it kinda goes back and forth between we're gonna get a deal, we're not gonna get a deal, that drives interest rates, and the higher cost of capital with capital intensive companies with technology, and certainly the innovation rather with AI requires a lot of, what we call CapEx spending or capital expenditure. The cost of capital is more expensive. So when we see rates go up as a result of the instability that's out there, those tend to be more volatile. Healthcare, financials, and those types of companies, sectors, if you will, kind of remained a little bit more stable through this. And you would think, and I haven't looked at it specifically, you would think that the military complexes, the military contractors would be doing quite well. Now, anecdotally, I've only looked at a couple of those, and they were surprisingly down for the year when we looked at Northrop Grumman, right? Which is kind of surprising. But I can't speak to that directly because that's a little bit out of my expertise. But I don't know if that made any sense at all. But ag- resiliency of the market has been quite astounding because that's the underlying fundamentals, the profit margins, the productivity, projected earnings growth going into 2027 that companies keep talking, keep putting out there is just really remarkable. Employment pictures remain strong. The thing that has been persistent and stubborn is still inflation. And that inflation, 60% of inflation number comes from, at least it's estimated to be all from the cost of energy, the cost of oil.
which has been all over the place. It's interesting, how as this conflict has gone from, resolution soon, prices go down for oil, for gas, and, at the pumps, and then, well, they attacked us, so we retaliated, and the prices go back up. I know for me, when I purchase gas, I don't tend to fill up these days because I have faith that this thing is doing what it's doing, and the prices continue to go down. So every day, instead of filling up, saying, "Oh, the prices are only going to keep going," I fill a half a tank, and then the next day say, "Yep, I saved some money." What and that maybe
That's an interesting strategy. I like that.
yeah, well, yeah. Well, speaking of common mistakes, what are some common mistakes that the general investor, street level person makes when reacting to this kind of conflict in the markets?
All right, so and Jake, you kind of chime in here because we've had. I mean, this is conversations that we have on a day in and day out basis in here. It's also, I have done what we call three quick fire, or what I call quick fire videos to talk specifically about this. I did one in March, I did one in May, and I did one earlier this week. And what I said, and then one I did in March, obviously was right in the middle of this thing, and the markets were going down, and oil prices were spiking up. And what I spoke to at that point in time is that whole, again, it's always you always hear stay the course. And I'm very careful about saying that because it doesn't mean you don't ever make changes to a portfolio. You just let time take care of it. That's not, sometimes you have to make adjustments in portfolios. Sometimes they can be subtle and sometimes they can be more, more less than subtle, let's say. But in this case, what I had said is let the portfolios do what they do. Let's let this play out for a minute or two and see where this thing goes. And that was, I think, on March the 17th. And we weren't quite at the low at that point in time for the year. We were pretty close. Um, and I began to suggest then, and I did again in May, where we had turned around by the time we got to the May video, and the markets had turned around quite nicely. Like I said, they bottomed at about the end of March. Since then we've set new record highs and we continue to kind of push into record territory right there. So that was a good call. And I really did believe, and You can go back and look at the video evidence that this thing would begin to get settled in the middle of June, and that is, uh, with as tenuous as this deal is, that's what we're looking at right now. So, that's why you don't make these knee jerk reactions. And clients want to, and they see the headline news. It's what we call, separating the noise from the news. You got to find the signal, right? And so and our job is to do that, to help our clients, identify where the signal is. And and that's paid off, up to this point in time. We'll see. But that's, we get those conversations in this room, those are phone calls, those are emails that we get on a regular basis. But this is the advice. We haven't changed that. We don't change it for different clients. We might talk to them a little bit differently because their concerns, their fears, maybe a little bit, are a little different, and the portfolios are a little different, et cetera. But we let our portfolios do the work. We are built to withstand storms, right? I mean, that's how we build, our portfolios. We go back to the Warren Buffett's, two rules of investing, which is rule one, never lose money. And rule two is never forget rule number one. Now, that doesn't mean, again, that we don't see prices slide and we don't see portfolios decline in value, but we build portfolios for our moderate, conservative, moderate, even growth clients to be able to withstand these kind of storms, right? And so we're built to get through these things. Stay the course. If you got a 401k plan, don't get more conservative in it. Keep buying. I mean, like, again, I'll caveat that by saying, I don't know everybody's situation that's out there that's listening. My clients, I know, but if you're an accumulator, you keep adding money to it. A lot of people, when markets go down, want to stop, feeding money to it. Why would I put money into something that's going down? It's because, so far, as long as the US stock market has been around, markets have always gone back up from their lows, right? So you want to buy, as my dad used to say, you buy straw hats in December, right? So, and so this is when you want to be buying, so you can buy more shares, right, of the things that you like, the companies you like, the funds you like, et cetera. It's how you create wealth.
Something I see is like a lot of people in my generation are traders instead of investors, and I think traders react and investors stay the course, and that's what more young people need to do.
Guys, thank you so much, Jeff. Great advice, and appreciate you breaking that down very clearly for folks like me who don't fill their tank up when the prices are going down.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because I'm a little bit different, but kind of on the same note as you were talking about there, is that we're going to a conference in actually out in Vegas. Not to go to Vegas. That's just where the conference is at the end of August. And so we're looking at plane tickets because we booked the deal, and we're looking at plane tickets. And so my Sherry, my administrative assistant, "Do you want to buy the plane tickets now?" And I said, "No, let's hold off," because I think the prices can come down. So it's kind of funny that when you were saying that, that's what I was thinking of. But I do think, as we close this out, if we can, I mean, here's the way I look at this: if we get a reasonable, deal, and it's tenuous, I get it, and people have can have lack of trust and all these things. I personally believe there will be a deal struck, and this thing will get taken care of, and they will negotiate over the next 60 days, and the Straits of Hormuz are going to open back up. We're going to cease hostilities. The straits are going to open back up, so the flow of oil and other goods that flow through that very important strait that is very narrow, that the Iranians have been able to take hostage essentially and hold the globe hostage for the last 47 years. If we can ameliorate that to a degree, cut their nuclear ambitions, their nuclear warhead ambitions down, and not allow that, whether we get, as Trump likes to say, whether we get all the dust or not, I hope that we do. But we also, rein them in from being able to create their long range ballistic missiles, et cetera, basically defang them. The world will be a safer, more stable place for us as we live today. It'll be a much safer and stable place for our children and our grandchildren and the next generations. And then the oil prices will remain more stable, where we won't get these crazy spikes one way or the other. And I think as we move towards the fourth, and celebrate our 250th year of the American dream. I think that we're closer to that than most people think that are out there. So I really do believe, not just for this firm, but I think for this country, the best is yet to come.
Amen, brother. Same here. Same here. And I love your optimism. Guys, appreciate it. And we will see you in the next episode where I'm sure we'll be talking about this more.
Thanks for tuning into the Four Seasons podcast, brought to you by B&H Wealth Strategies, where your financial success is our priority. Schedule your free 20-minute consultation today by calling 423-247-1152 or by visiting bhretire.com. Take the first step toward making your financial dreams come true. Until next time, remember, every season is the right season to plan for your future. Securities and registered investment advisory services offered through Silver Oak Securities, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. B&H Wealth Strategies and Silver Oak Securities, Inc. are not affiliated.